Hi. So my question is that there are several things like the Forest Amendment Bill, Sanjay One. All these things are kind of going towards the side of commercialization. So how is government supposed to do things for the benefit of the people,
Okay.
as well as taking the environment in account, because all these things are leading to a lot of deforestation?
Are our policies really, our laws really, the Forest Amendment Bill, for instance, is it all really catered to protecting us and solving this pollution crisis, or is it just further enhancing the problem? Go ahead.
Like the ecotourism thing with DDA in the Sanjay One. Sanjay One are the only green lungs in Delhi, and they are starting ecotourism there, which will lead to polluting the base and the flora and fauna there, which will like lead to more people visiting that place and activities like...
Well, ecotourism is going to be permitted in a big way under the new forest law as well. So I think that's one of the questions. We'll take that to panelists. Anyone else has a question?
Yeah, so trees reduce air pollution, and there are so many trees getting cut down all over Delhi. So when are we going to stop cutting down the trees? Can we stop cut that?
Anyone else has a question? She had a question there as well. Yeah.
So why are we planting trees when they're going to be chopped? Why is there a lie being promoted that you should be planting more trees?
That's a very cynical point of view, but all right, that's a point of view. You're angry, I understand that. Go ahead.
Indoor pollution also, it's very important thing. Is outdoor तो है ही है, indoor pollution के लिए government हमारे लिए कैसे help कर सकती है?
What is indoor pollution? आप अपने situation के बारे में थोड़ा बताओ.
Like हमारे यहाँ जो भी situation है वो indoor pollution जैसे like LPGs है वो बहुत higher prices हैं तो afford नहीं कर सकते उसके लिए वो चूल्हा uses करते हैं traditional चूल्हाs तो उसके लिए इंडोर पोल्यूशन जो भी है बहुत हायर होता है उसके लिए उनके लंग डिजीज एंड हेल्थ बेनिफिट्स नहीं है बिल्कुल भी गवर्नमेंट से नहीं मिल रहा है.
कहाँ से हैं आप?
Andrewsganj, South Delhi.
South Delhi से. Okay, thank you all. Thank you very much. I think 2-3 important points. Ronak, if I can bring you in here, would you like to respond to the audience who's asked the question on, you know, one side we're reporting on the amendments to the forest laws which have been passed by both houses of parliament in the last session. And then, you know, we have reports like this that really make us question that is our legislation actually helping or adding to the problem? Ronak, I think you're on mute.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. So I think as far as legislation goes, you know, for air pollution, the NCAP policy is a strong framework. You know, while the forest laws, of course, have been under, you know, the economic pressure and the industrial powerhouses are at play. And I think one thing to understand is when policies are being, especially legislative policies, you know, the economic aspect is playing out significantly. I think the part which I feel is not adequately being done and which I'm quite not very happy about is the way the enforcement of the existing Clean Air Act has been done so far.
Right.
You know, dilution, of course, of the current laws is a cause of concern, but we have a strong framework which has not been implemented in the last 4 years. You know, the funds which have been put aside for the Clean Air program, whatever we've been tracking, you know, unfortunately, the mitigation policies are suboptimal and non-scientific. And I think strong questions need to be raised around the enforcement of the act which we have.
Two sides of the story really. One is, of course, whether we're enforcing the current laws properly in the true letter and spirit. And second question, of course, is like the audience members have also raised, you know, what are our new forest laws? I mean, everybody knows that, you know, trees and greenery means cleaner air. So, you know, when you're taking that away, aren't you essentially adding to the problem? I think there's also a very interesting point about indoor pollution. Partha Basu, do you want to take that on? You know, something that not very many people really talk about, but is a problem very intrinsic to India, which is indoor pollution.
Absolutely. So, Rishika, actually, a large amount of people, number of people actually lose their lives because of indoor air pollution. Actually, it is supposed to be 7 times more a bigger problem than ambient. India, with its Ujjwala Yojana programs and such kind of schemes, has started reducing. So if we look at India as a whole and not urban and rural, then I think programs such as these are actually making LPG or such kind of cleaner fuels available to a larger extent. There is a lot of research that is going on with CSIRs who are looking at cleaner chulhas. I think what is very important is also a bit of personal knowledge, in the sense, like, are we living in a ventilated atmosphere? Are our kitchens ventilated? Do we have that kind of system where the smoke generated or the CO2 generated is already escaping out? I think these things are very important. You see, Dr. Nangia talked about women, and one of the factors that I could think associated with women is also to the kind of things that our mothers and sisters are doing at home, and that is cooking and taking care of the households, and which is actually causing a massive exposure to PM 2.5 levels and as well as some of the gases.
Right. Dr. Nangia, do you very briefly want to address this indoor pollution question? Because I think that, while of course we continue to talk about air pollution and we have a lot of statistics and a lot of data that we're analyzing here on the show, I think this is another very important issue that often gets sidelined.
Absolutely, Rishika. I would fully agree with you. You know, what is happening is that we attribute the indoor air pollution only to the kitchen smoke, but that is not true actually. Even pets contribute significantly to allergies and development of asthmas and those kind of problems.
Right.
Apart from that, lighting of incense, that is agarbattis, carrying out havans. Traditionally, if you see, havans always used to be carried out in courtyards. But now, whenever there's an auspicious day, you're having a housewarming ceremony, you're having some other kind of mundan or some other family function.
Yes.
You havan indoors these days. Then there's a tendency of carrying that havan kund to each room also to purify. What we're not realizing is that we're actually harming ourselves by spreading all over the house.
And I think this is very important, especially for those individuals who have vulnerable people living in the house. If you have small children or somebody who's susceptible to, pulmonary disease, I think this is a really important perspective that Dr. Nangia is giving. An unpopular opinion, I must say, Dr. Nangia, but one that should be heard. Anyway, like I said, this is a very important report. It's once again put air pollution back in the news, back in focus, and one sincerely hopes that there will be action plans that are better implemented, at least in terms of the existing action plans, and legislation that takes this into consideration, just like the audience members raised several questions about the new forest laws. I'm afraid we're completely out of time. It's been a fascinating conversation. Thank you all very much, including to the audience, for joining us in this edition of We the People. Good night.